Thursday. We're going to start with the Galway Hurdle, the 505. Matt Toombs with the trend. Take it away.
So the trend for the Galway Hurdle is that 9 winners this century had already won a race at the Galway Festival. 4 only on the flat, 2 over hurdles, only 2 on both, 1 in a bumper. So this is not the only race at the meeting, but is one that's a particularly a race, not just for Galway specialists, but Galway Festival specialists, horses that are trained specifically for this meeting. Donn and I like the same horse, so I'll let him make the case.
He can do. Just, I take it that's showing pretty good returns. Is it 9 of 23? That must be, given the nature of the race.
Oh, yeah. I mean, last year went off 23.0. We had a 34.0 winner in Many Rainbows in that as well.
Yeah. So those 2 will do it. That's big profit already. And 9 and the 23 winners already won at the Galway Festival. Go on, then you 2 are with this Merlin Giant, Don.
I was hoping Matt was going to make the case, and I was just going to get all that said.
You just copied and pasted, didn't you?
Yeah, just so I can spell it correctly. Look, Emmett Mullins, the Me family, that's flashing lights straight away. And look, we know that all the Me horses, they love having winners at Galway. They had one yesterday. They won the big GP or the Connacht Total race yesterday with Teed Up. And he's a bit of a Galway specialist now. He's won 4 out of 6, I think, at Galway and finished second in the other 2. But Merlin Giant last year got beaten in a maiden and the qualified riders maiden early in the week, and then went back and won his maiden hurdle, won it impressively from Hubrisco a couple of days later. And yeah, you suspect that he's just been gearing up for coming back to Galway. But in the meantime, he won the big Bar 1 Racing handicap hurdle at the Hatton's Grace hurdle meeting at Ferryhouse. And that was a really competitive race. They went really fast, and then they all kind of concertinaed at the top of the home straight. He was probably in front a wee bit earlier than ideal, but he went away and won impressively. He's warmed up for this with a win on the flat at Down Royal last time. And like he's in here off a mark of 137, which it's £10 higher than the mark off which he won at Ferryhouse, but he's dropped a couple of pounds in the ratings since then in the spring when he finished down the field a couple of times. And like Hubrisco, who he beat last year, is now rated in the low 130s, and he beat Hubrisco well. So yeah, look back at Galway, and he handles all types of ground, so he won't mind if the rain comes either. So yeah, I think Emmett Mullins had that big winner yesterday. He's got plenty in his favour.
Don, do you think so? The way I had it lined up pace wise, I don't think he'll be too far away. He tends to be ridden pretty prominently, although he has been held up once or twice in the past. And with that, do you think it's important on the hurdles track not to get too far back or not?
Yeah, again, we're back to like Galway, and it's a funny track because I don't, a bit like Goodwood actually, which is kind of ironic, they're in the same week on the flat. I don't think there's a set way to ride Galway, because you often see at Goodwood horses who are ridden in the inside don't get the gaps and they're unlucky. It's similar at Galway, but I prefer a horse kind of racing middle to outside, because when you start up the hill, if your momentum gets checked on the run up the hill, it can be very difficult to get that back. And I prefer give away ground by going wide in order to ensure that you get a run of the race. And yeah, like you don't want to be coming from too far back. Ideally, it's a very stiff hill, and especially on soft ground, I think take a lot of getting. But it is difficult to make ground from in behind unless they've gone really, really hard up front. So yeah, you don't want to be too far back. We saw the very man yesterday came from a long way back in a race in which the pace held up pretty well. So he did well to come from as far back as he did. But generally, yeah, you generally don't want to be that far back in a race.
I thought it was interesting for Mighty Tom, who I quite liked, but is probably going to be ridden very cold. We'll see. Big old field. What do you want to add to Merlin Giant, Matt?
Echo everything Don said. It was notable that Emmett Mullins said when he came out at Punchestown after that big break that the run would tee him up for a summer campaign. As Don said, the Mees, Emmett Mullins, this has clearly been the target. Just on the tactics, I agree with that. I think the last horse to have been held up to win this was Clondor Warrior 7 years ago. Even more so in the plate, you've got to go back to Sir Frederick in 2007. I think it's hard to make up ground in that race. So they're quite good races, particularly the plate, I think, for in-running bettors on the Matchbook Exchange, because you sometimes see a few of the fancied ones quite a long way back early on, and they don't have a good record.
Am I mad that I think Tudor City can feature off the same mark and do it for the third year in, what is it, 5 or 6? I know he's not the obvious one, but surely this has just been the plan. Nice little spin last time. I thought he was 21.0, but I thought I just like horses doing what they've done before, and I thought he was going to be there or thereabouts.
Well, I put a line through him pretty quickly last year and he won, so I wouldn't put you off after that.
No, he was like that. The race that he won at the Curragh, Tom, like I fully agree with you. He was really impressive in winning it, and that was, you'd imagine, as you say, the run that was going to bring him forward. Like he's 11 years old now. Like he would confound history, Arama, if he goes and wins it. He was the first horse since Penshater to win 2 Galway hurdles when he won it last year. He was the first 10-year-old to win it since the 1940s. He's 11 now. No horse has ever won it 3 times, and yet I wouldn't put you off at all. I think he goes there with a chance.
And he's just so consistent at the track, isn't he? He's finished third in it as well. He's won it twice, 5th in it. I don't know. It's just a bit of a sort of there or thereabout shout. I feel like I'm likely to be getting my place money, and you never know. Fingers crossed.
And it's Tony Martin, brilliant target trainer for these big handicaps. Has won 4 of the last 9 Galway hurdles. So you do want trainers who are targeting at this time of year. If you think about some of the other big target trainers for these sort of races, like Charles Burns, doesn't have such a good record. But Tony Martin, I assume, will have just laid him out for this again.
Yeah, put it this way, I'm not too concerned that he's been beaten 160 lengths on his last 4 starts over hurdles. Okay, good. Hello, Peter, by the way. He says, how many favs won in the end yesterday? I can't tell you. Don might be able to, but
the first 4 anyway.
Yeah, there you go.
I think it was just 4. Yeah.
Different days coming. You would imagine it's going to be very open. Now, the beginner's chase 210. Matt, I'm going to throw straight over to you, please, because you picked this out to have a little look at.
Yeah, I thought Joya Mashan was going to beat Ballyadam at Wexford. He lost all momentum when nodding at the last. He was pretty confidently ridden and jumped soundly up until that point. He'd been deemed good enough by Paul Nolan, who has a good record bringing horses over for big races in Britain, to contest the Challow, where he went off 5.0. By plenty of the runners, he didn't handle the conditions. Wasn't seen again for 99 days. Stepped up to 3 miles in his last run over hurdles and bolted up a minor conditions event. Racing Post rating of 144 was decent form. He may not want the ground to deteriorate too much, but hopefully it'll have dried out a bit by Thursday, because after the rain forecast for tonight, it's due to be reasonably dry. If it's not really soft, it looks like a step back up to an extended 2 3/4 will suit him. And I think there's some of these that I get the impression will be aimed at handicaps, including Mars Harper, who runs over 2 1/4 today if he turns out again. Joya Mashan, from listening to Paul Nolan, could be one who's primed for this.
Don, where are you looking? Again, no prices.
Yeah, Jungle Pros. She was behind Joya Mashan at Wexford last time over hurdles, and she was beaten at Kilbeggan by choice of words last time on her first run over fences. But that was her first run over fences. She was so progressive last year over hurdles. Like, she improved from marks in the 80s and 90s up to a mark of 100 in the high 130s over hurdles. And I thought that run at Kilbeggan was, look, she does have to improve if she's going to reverse place into Joya Mashan from their hurdles form. That was over 3 miles, so 2 miles 6.5 tomorrow, on Thursday. It's not that much different given how stiff Galway is. But I just thought the last day she was staying on at the end of 2 miles 3 and closed on choice of words. And if she jumped the second last a wee bit better, I think she might have even beaten choice of words. Choice of words is a good mare of Martin Brazel. So I just think if she can just, her jumping throughout was not overly fluent, which is fine for a debutante. But if she can jump a wee bit better, then that should bring her up to her hurdles level over fences, and she could surpass her hurdles level over fences, and that could give her a chance of reversing places with Joya Mashan. I expect Joya Mashan will be towards the head of the market. It'll be a shorter price than her, but I just think that she could improve a fair bit on a Kilbeggan run, and the step up in trip will suit her.
All right, move on to the Grade 3 novice chase. And while I tell you that, I'm just catching up with Diego Diaz winning with probably a first ever runner in the UK from Ireland at Goodwood. Did you see that, Don?
I didn't see it, no.
I believe that. I know nothing about Diego Diaz. I don't know if you do.
Yeah, he does. He doesn't have many horses, but I think it was his first winner just a few weeks ago here. But that's brilliant.
Yeah, 21.0. There you are. We didn't find that horse. 245 is that Grade 3 contest, and well, look, you've got some well-known horses in here and some real newcomers to this sort of division. Don, where do you want to start?
This is a really good race. Like Hercule de Soy, I think he might be short enough, but he's such an exciting horse. Like he was a good hurdler, but I think he's had 3 runs over fences to date, and his jumping has improved with each one. Like last time at Killarney, he was brilliant. Jody McGarvey just allowed him roll away, and his jumping was superb for a horse just having his 3rd run over fences, and he beat Solness, who reopposes, beat Whitehouse Cross. They're good horses, and he never looked like he wasn't going to beat them. He's such an exciting horse to watch, and he was a wee bit of a tearaway over hurdles, but with fences now, he seems to be just relaxing an awful lot more in his races. And look, in Lieutenant Highway's good horse, Solness is back in there. And BeGambleAware was good the last day, and beating Hebrisco kept on really well. As Matt said, that was the race in which Joyo Machan was definitely a challenger on the far side and made a bad mistake at the second last. So, and BeGambleAware was good to see BeGambleAware getting his first win over fences on the board. But I think like Hercule de Soy, he beat BeGambleAware at Ballinrobe the time before that. I think BeGambleAware is going to have to improve again if he's going to beat Hercule de Soy. It may not be a betting race, Tom. It may be a race in which Hercule de Soy is going to be too short. But if he jumps with the fluency that he jumped the last day at Killarney, I think he could win this pretty well.
Do you think he'll be odds on, Don?
Yeah, I'd say he might be. Yeah,
probably would be, wouldn't he? Fair enough.
But I think he's a horse for he's better than a summer jumper. I think he could go on and be a real player in the novice chasing division this year.
Well, that was going to be my next thing, Matt. Who was the last winner, not just of this race, but a Galway Festival novice chase to actually go on and be a proper horse?
I remember back in Focus won the 2 mile 6 beginners chase before winning the 4 miler. Not certainly the last one, but he was certainly one.
Well, and Rath Vinden won the 4. Well, no, hang on, it wasn't the 4 miler then, was it? But Rath Vinden's won this, so he could be a very, very good horse. This Hercule de Soy, do you think? Yeah,
and the key point is the one Don made. His last run at Killarney, he was absolutely electric over his fences, really slick and fast. You need that at Galway. They go a good clip, takes plenty of jumping. So he's got Racing Post ratings of 156 and 157 his last 2 chase starts. Even allowing for the elevated ratings, easy winners of summer jump races tend to get, that's setting a really good standard here. So I think he'll take all the beating. If he is odds against, then I think it'll be a decent bet. As you say, he may be odds on, but there are enough horses in this that I hope he wouldn't be too short.
Okay, then we move on to the flat race we're going to be previewing at Galway. It's the listed Fillies Stakes over 7 furlongs. Again, we've got no prices as yet. I didn't want to be the classic British guy that tips up a British trained horse, but here I am. Only because I felt that I think there's a fair chance that Dandy Alice won't be that well respected in the market here. 3-year-olds have got a half decent record, although I don't know the amount that have tried. But I think she might be the best of the 3-year-olds in here anyway. I guess Keep in Touch is a course and distance winner and deserves plenty of respect. But I don't think that Epsom on quick ground would have really suited. She ran well at Carlisle last time when beaten by Vativer, who I then put up to win a race last weekend. She was taken out, unfortunately. So we didn't get to see how well she'd have got on. But I think the form's actually all right for it being Carlisle listed race. I don't think she stayed the mile in behind Blue Rose Sen at the back end of last year, but she was a price there. But if you go back to the Curragh run behind Streets of Gold, that's a half decent run and a good bit of form. And I think she probably paid the price for racing prominently there. So I guess the angle is that I'm hoping with the quality that you've got in here, probably going to go off ahead of her in the betting. I would hope that you'll be getting sort of high single digits or bigger about Dandy Alice and Rafe Beckett and Colin Keane. Rafe Beckett's well worth respecting when he sends a runner over to Ireland, and I think it's interesting that Colin Keane rides as well. So I'll go with her. Don?
Yeah, interesting. All right. I'm surprised to see Keep in Touch dropping back down in trip. I thought she ran in the Blue Wind Stakes last time And I thought she's a filly who might want to step up in trip. She's out of Unaccompanied, who was top class filly for Dermot Well and for Moydare, finished second in the Triumph Hurdle, I think, won the Grade 1 juvenile hurdle here, and was dual purpose mare, ran on the flat as well. But keep in touch, like back down from 10 furlongs to 7 furlongs to see Dermot Well is fitting a visor for the first time. And that might work because she's a classy filly. And as you're saying, Tom, she's won over the course and distance on soft ground as a juvenile when she stayed on well to win that day. That was back in September. So I just think she might be vulnerable back down to 7 furlongs. And I thought I'd take a chance with Pandora Lovegood. I suspect she'll be a big price, and she's got plenty to find on ratings. But she was so good last year. She won a nursery at the festival last year, which she stayed on really well. And she didn't run then. She ran in the Park Express Stakes, sorry, the Well Park Stakes at the Curragh at the end of the season, and didn't run well. But she came back at Leopardstown there the other day and kept on well to take 5th place behind Savoury Love and Karachi. They battled at the finish, but she stayed on nicely. She was a massive price that day. I suspect she'll be a big price again, but I'm sure that Joe Murphy and young Joe Jr. will have had this race in mind for her for a little while. And maybe things haven't gone to plan because she didn't make her debut until Leopardstown there last week, and that was her first run back after a long break. So that's her second run in whatever 7 or 8 days, which that brings the bounce factor in. But she kind of was ready to run a couple of times and was taken out for different reasons. So I'm hoping that her last run will bring her forward, and I think back down to 7 furlongs will suit her as well. She's got good Galway form. So yeah, I think she's interesting at, possibly, we don't have betting on her. I can't see betting, but I think she'll be a bit of a price.
Yeah, I think she probably will. She's got a bit to find on official figures with all the other 3-year-olds in there. So we'll see. All right. Any other Thursday bets for Matchbook Zero long shot? I'm going with Perfuse over at Goodwood, the 150, dropping back to 10 furlongs. He's a horse I had in mind for the 1.5 race tomorrow, I think it is. But he's obviously coming back in trip off the back of the run at Ascot, where he did far too much up top. They went a silly pace and he paid the price. If he was running over 1.5 miles, all this I'd side with him, but purely on the fact that he did best of those up with the pace last time, I think he's worth a bet. Perfuse in the 150 at Goodwood. He's around about 6.0. Matt?
The 4:30 at Galway. I was a fan of Incanto Bruno bumpers last season. His win at Cheltenham in October worked out well. Got stuck in the mud at the festival, and he does look ground dependent. So if the ground dries out to be yielding or quicker, then he may be a backable price in what looks a warm contest with the big yards well represented. Little bit of a concern about the form of the O'Connell yard, but I think this is a potential graded horse on a sound surface. So hopefully it'll dry out for him.
Incanto Bruno in the 4:30. Matchbook Zero long shot. Remember, the market goes live at 10 a.m. each day. There's 0 commission and there's 0 margin as well. So take advantage of that. You can place a single bet on Matchbook Zero, whichever stake you like, and you're going to almost certainly be getting best odds, and you'll see that in your returns. I'm with Tudor City in the 505 at Galway, trying to win the hurdle for the 3rd time. Don?
Yeah, Pandora Lovegood at what I hope will be a biggish price.
And Matt?
Merlin Giant in the hurdle.
And Matt, only you with a lay in the 505?
Yeah, this is the favourites, Arak the Brave, both the win and the place markets. The last 4-year-old to win this was in 2000. 31 have tried and failed since. He's only won a 3-year-old maiden, effective mark of 142 after the £3 weight for age is included. It's early on in terms of testing the strength of last season's juvenile form against their elders. I'm not convinced he's well handicapped, and at around 6.5, he's a favourite I'm keen to take on.
All right, and our best bets. We've got one in 3 different races. I'll go with Dandy Alice in the listed race, Rafe Beckett's filly, the 355. Don, your best bet?
Yeah, Merlin Giant in the hurdle for all the reasons earlier.
And Matt?
And Hercule de Soy in the hope that he isn't too sure.
All right. The Sports Elephant says Rawaya in the 505 at Goodwood is the Wednesday nap. That's today. Then Perfuse and Incanto Bruno on Thursday. Good luck. We're with one of those and against